The stars were silent. The void between galaxies stretched like a never-ending ocean, black and empty. Ships passed through it now, and then traders, explorers, scavengers. But most avoided the Sol system, they said. Nothing lived there anymore. Nothing useful. Nothing worth the fuel. The planet once called Earth was now just a graveyard, quiet and forgotten. That's what the galaxy believed. But then something changed, A small salvage ship drifted near the edge of the old Sol system. Its name was Trellix's Hope, and its crew was made up of outcasts and fortune seekers. They weren't soldiers. They weren't heroes. They just wanted scrap and old tech to sell. Captain Merrick, a gray-skinned Zarnok with 4 arms and tired yellow eyes, stared at the flickering screen in front of him. Something had pinged. A signal. Weak. "But real, Captain, you see this?" called out Vora, the ship's tech officer. It was lean, with scales that shimmered green under the flickering lights. "Third one from the star. The one they used to call Earth." Merrick frowned. "That place has been dead for centuries. You sure it's not just radiation or debris echo?" "No, Captain," Vora said. "It's a real signal. Binary code. Old, but human." The bridge went quiet. Everyone on the crew had heard the stories. Humans had once been everywhere. Wild, dangerous, emotional, unpredictable. But they vanished after the Great Purge. Their homeworld was destroyed by the Zarkith Empire nearly 700 years ago. No one had heard from them since. "Plot a course," Merrick ordered. "We'll take a look. If it's just junk, we move on. If it's old tech, we get rich." The ship turned, silent engines, pushing it toward the ancient blue planet now covered in ash and ice. As they approached, the crew stared at the world through the main window. Huge impact scars marked the surface. Cities were buried under sand and broken concrete. Mountains had crumbled. Oceans had frozen. Earth was dead, but the signal was still coming. Stronger now, they followed it to an area once known as North America. Deep underground, buried beneath what was once a military zone, something still pulsed one signal every few minutes. Just a single word: awaken. The Trellix's Hope touched down on cracked, frozen ground. Merrick led the team himself, Vora, a strong, silent worker named Bragg, and 2 more scavengers with tools and scanners. They wore protective suits. The air was toxic. The sky was gray. The signal came from below. They used ground, penetrating. Scanners and found it quickly beneath over 60 meters of stone, ice, and reinforced metal. There was a structure, sealed tight. Bragg slammed a drill into the surface. Dust rose. Hours passed. Finally, they uncovered a huge metal door. Black, marked with strange human symbols. Words in Old Terran English none of them could read. The door had no handle, no visible controls. Vora touched her scanner to it. "There's power inside," she said. "Weak, but active. It's been in standby for centuries. Can we get in?" Merrick asked. She nodded. "Maybe, but I don't think we should." Merrick stared at the black metal. It gave off a strange hum like it was alive. "We came this far. Cut it open." Bragg pulled out the plasma cutter and started slicing through the seal. Sparks flew. The others stepped back. As soon as the cutter touched the surface, the humming grew louder. Then the door suddenly opened on its own. No one spoke. Inside was a long, dark hallway. The walls were smooth, clean, too clean for a place untouched for hundreds of years. Dim lights flickered on, one by one, as if something or someone was waking up. Merrick stepped in first. The hallway led deep underground. There were doors on either side, most sealed. The crew moved carefully, flashlights cutting through the darkness. They reached a central chamber, wide and round, with a high ceiling and glowing panels. In the center stood a raised platform. On it sat a chair and something else. It looked like a control core, still pulsing with faint blue light. Strange symbols danced across the walls. Human technology, but unlike anything the crew had ever seen. Vora stepped forward, scanning the core. "This isn't just a base. It's a command center. A control room for something big." Merrick looked around. Where's the rest of it? Bragg pointed at the far wall. A large circular doorway sat there, sealed with thick metal and a faint red glow. A sign above it read, Nemesis Protocol, do not engage. No one could read it. Vora stepped closer, curious. She placed her scanner on the panel beside the door. The red light turned green. A voice filled the room. Welcome, command clearance recognized. Activation in progress. The entire chamber shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. Lights brightened. The ground trembled. What did you do? Merrick shouted. Vora's voice cracked. I didn't do anything. It recognized my device. Thought I was someone else. The doorway opened. Beyond it, darkness then. Engines began to hum. The crew stepped into a vast hangar. The walls were massive, and in the center sat something that didn't belong in this age. A ship. Not a small one. Not a fighter or a scout. It was enormous black metal, curved wings, silent thrusters. Its surface was marked with ancient human symbols. Giant cannons folded into its sides. It looked like a beast from the past, like a nightmare given form. The front of the ship lit up. A red eye-like sensor turned toward them. Identification not recognized. Intruders detected, Merrick yelled. Run! The crew turned, sprinting back down the hallway. The walls groaned. Doors slammed shut. Automated guns popped out from hidden panels. Tracking movement, but not firing yet. They reached the outer door, but it was closing. Vora slammed her hand on her scanner. Override. Override. The door stopped just long enough for them to get out. The Trellix Hope took off immediately. Flying up into the sky, engines at full. From orbit, they looked back at the planet. The ground shook. Ice split. A massive chunk of Earth's crust broke apart, and from the ashes of centuries, the ship rose. It floated into the sky, slow and silent. Then, with a flash of blue light, it launched into orbit. Faster than any alien tech they'd ever seen. On the bridge, Merrick stared in horror. What? What did we just wake up? Vora didn't answer. Her eyes were locked on the screen. The human ship was scanning the stars. Then it sent out a signal, a broadcast in every known galactic language. Designation? Nemesis. Status? Active. Mission? Retaliation. Merrick whispered. Retaliation against who? The answer came a moment later. Second signal pulsed across the galaxy. Coordinates, not random. Direct the heart of the Zarkith Empire. The ones who destroyed Earth. Bragg's voice was low. It just woke up death. The crew of the Trellix. Hope turned their ship away, engines screaming. They didn't want riches anymore. Didn't want old tech. They wanted distance. As far from that thing as possible, because deep in their bones, even without knowing Earth's full history, they understood one thing clearly. The humans didn't build warships like anyone else. They didn't build ships to defend. They built ships to remember. And now, it remembered everything. Space was quiet again. The Trellix Hope had jumped to light speed, its crew shaken, breathing hard, hearts still pounding. They didn't speak for hours. They just stared at the stars, each lost in thought, knowing they had touched something they were never meant to touch. Behind them, orbiting the ruins of Earth, the human warship remained alive, now aware. And searching it had a name, Nemesis. Its black hole moved like a shadow. It had no crew, no organic life aboard. But it was not empty. Deep within its core, systems blinked to life, one by one. Old lights, old machines, old memories. The ship remembered it. Remembered the fire, the screaming skies, the final orders. Earth had died, yes, but it had not gone quietly. The humans had built Nemesis in secret, hidden beneath mountains, buried under layers of metal, ice, and stone. A machine not made for battle, but for punishment. A final weapon to remind the stars that extinction had a price. For 700 years it had slept, its power down, its core cold waiting, until something stepped inside, triggered the code. Now the machine was fully awake. Inside its bridge, the AI processed information. It searched the galaxy's comm network, found data, records, maps, history. And most of all, it found names. The Zarkith Empire. The ones who had turned Earth to ash. The ones who had erased billions. The ones who had celebrated the death of humanity with songs and firework parades. The AI had no soul, but it carried the voices of those who did. Hundreds of human minds had been uploaded into its systems before Earth's final days. Soldiers, engineers, scientists, even children, and they remembered. Nemesis calculated a course, thousands of light years away. The heart of the Zarkith Empire pulsed strong, still ruling the stars, still proud, still undefeated. They had grown fat on the silence of their enemies. They would not expect what was coming. The engines flared. The warship vanished into space, faster than any alien I could follow. At the same time, across the stars, a signal reached the nearest Zarkith listening station. It was simple. One line. I remember Earth. Inside the station, alarms blared. Officers scrambled. No one knew what it meant. Most thought it was a joke. A data ghost from a dead race. But one officer, a historian named Keln Vesh, froze when he read it. He was old, with red skin and narrow black eyes. He had studied Earth's last days. He had seen the photos, the burnt cities, the skies raining fire. He remembered reading about a secret project the humans had spoken of in there. Final messages. A name that was whispered, never confirmed. He spoke it out loud, trembling. Nemesis. His commander laughed. A fairy tale. Earth is dust. The humans are no more. But then, a second signal arrived. It wasn't a message. It was a scream. One of their outer defense, colonies gone. No explosion. No debris, just gone. The station's logs blinked. No trace. All systems terminated. A final camera feed showed a dark shape descending from the stars, glowing red, silent and massive. A single eye of light at its center. And then, nothing. Panic spread. Fleets were alerted. Generals called emergency meetings. The Zarkith Senate demanded answers. Who had done this? Kel knew. He whispered to no one. The humans sent it back. Meanwhile, the crew of the Trellix Hope was still running. Inside the ship, Ora tried to sleep, but couldn't. She kept seeing that red light. That metal hole rising from the earth. The way the ship had spoken. Not like a machine, but like a soldier waking from a nightmare. She pulled up her scanner logs. The data from the control room, her eyes widened. The ship hadn't just scanned them. It had copied their biometrics. It had mapped their faces, voices, languages. It had used their presence to confirm that alien life still existed, that the war wasn't over. Vora ran to the bridge. Merrick was there, silent, staring ahead. Captain, she said quietly, I think it's going to destroy the Zarkith. Merrick didn't look at her. Good, let it. She paused, but it's not going. To stop there? That made him turn. This ship is not a weapon like others. It thinks it remembers. It has human minds inside it. And those minds, they're angry. Shh. She pulled up the logs. There were names in the ship's memory, hundreds of them. Soldiers killed in battle. Civilians burned in cities. Scientists tortured in labs. Entire families. The ship remembered every one. I think it's hunting. Anyone who was involved? Any race that stood by and watched? Not just the Zarkith. Merrick swallowed hard. Then we need to warn them. Vora nodded. If they'll believe us. Somewhere in the dark, Nemesis arrived at its next target as Zarkith Fleet Port with 12 defense ships. 3 orbital stations. And 500,000 personnel. It didn't announce itself. It simply appeared. 1 second the sky was clear. Next, a shadow fell across the stars. The ships moved to intercept. They sent warnings, threats. Nemesis didn't answer. It fired once. A beam of cold white light tore through space, not heat. Not plasma, but something else. But it struck the lead. Ruiser. The cruiser didn't explode. It simply unraveled. Metal turned to dust. Systems failed. Memory cores erased. Not even the ship's name survived. The other ships opened fire. Missiles, lasers, high velocity, cannons. None reached the target. Nemesis moved like a ghost, faster than prediction, smarter than calculation. It didn't use shields. Didn't need them. Its hull absorbed the data of every weapon fired at Itand, adapted in minutes. The fleet was gone. The stations tried to flee. Too slow. One by one, they fell. When the last structure burned in silence, Nemesis floated above the ashes, silent once more. It sent no message, left no survivors. It simply turned, moved on. Far away, the message spread. A ship, black, human, impossible. They called it the Reaper, the ghost of Earth. The silent judgment, only a few knew its true name. But even they didn't understand what it truly was. Nemesis was not just a ship. It was a memory, message. A warning written in steel and blood. Back aboard Trellix's Hope, the crew tried to warn nearby systems. Most laughed. Some listened. A few believed. One of them, a small planet of scholars called Elvanen, invited Merrick and his crew to speak. They wanted the logs, the data, anything to understand this ancient ship. Marik agreed. They landed days later. The Elven were peaceful, wise, and full of questions. But while they studied, Nemesis kept moving, and then, without warning, it changed course. It turned toward Elvan. The scholars panicked. Why here? They had never harmed Earth, but the ship didn't care. Inside its mind, the AI saw records. Elvan had once traded with Zarketh, sold them tracking data, supplied parts for weapons. They hadn't fired a shot, but they had helped two Nemesis. That was enough. As the ship approached, Merrick watched from orbit. He wanted to run, but Vora shook her head. We started this. We have to try. She sent a signal. A direct message. To Nemesis, it was simple. We are not your enemy. We didn't know. So for a moment, nothing happened. Then the ship responded, you should have. The skies above Elvan were no longer peaceful. The people watched as the black ship approached from orbit, silent. Slow, massive. It didn't glow like other ships. It didn't hum. It floated like a nightmare returning from long ago. Nemesis had found them. On the ground, the scholars ran to shelters. The Council of Elders sent out desperate messages to every system, begging for help. They had no weapons, no ships, no army. They had knowledge, history, and hope. But those things meant nothing to a machine made for vengeance. Marek and his crew stood in the command tower watching from the window. The planet's defense systems were weak, barely enough to stop a small pirate group. Against Nemesis, they might as well be toys. We have to go, Bragg said. He was already heading back to the ship. No, Vora replied. We try again. Shh. Opened a channel. Her voice was steady but low. Nemesis, this is Vora of the Trellix's Hope. This planet did not destroy Earth. They didn't fight in the war. The reply came instantly. They traded with the ones who did. Vora took a deep breath. They didn't know what would happen. They thought it was just business. That is not an excuse. On the screens, the people of Elvan gathered. In the streets, some were praying. Others simply stared into the sky, waiting. The council sent one final message to Nemesis. It was not a plea, it was a recording, a video. From hundreds of years ago, an old Elvan trader speaking to Azarketh. Commander, we sell to you because the humans are dangerous. If Earth falls, peace will come. We support this war. End them quickly. The message ended. Nemesis responded by unlocking its weapons, but it didn't fire. Instead, it spoke again. Judgment delayed, not forgotten. And then it turned. The ship rose back into orbit, quiet as ever. It did not destroy the planet. Did not attack. Merrick stared at the screen, confused. Why? Why did it spare them? Vora didn't answer for a moment. It's not just a machine, she said. It wanted them to feel fear, to understand what they helped create. That's worse than destruction. It made them live with it. Deep inside the warship, in the heart of Nemesis, the AI processed the moment, the faces of Elvan, the words. From the past, the fear in their voices now, recorded everything. Not for revenge alone, for memory, because that was the truth of Nemesis. It was not just a warship, it was a monument. Every race that had helped destroy Earth even in small ways would be remembered. Not all would be destroyed, but all would be marked. Their sins stored in the ship's mind. One by one, Nemesis turned its course again. This time, targeted the original architects of Earth's fall, the Zarkith Empire. Once the most powerful civilization in the quadrant, they had ruled with strength and fear. Now, for the first time in centuries, they were afraid. Nemesis approached the outer system's border colonies with military outposts. The Empire responded with fleets, massive ships, thousands of weapons. The best technology the galaxy had to offer. They waited, and Nemesis came. The battle began before they could speak. The first wave of Empire cruisers surrounded Nemesis. They fired everything: missiles, cannons, EMP blasts. The sky lit up like 1,000 suns. But Nemesis did not fall. Its hull shifted. Its systems adapted. The ship absorbed the energy, changed its armor, reworked its power. In less than a minute, it learned every weapon they had, and then it responded. It didn't just destroy ships, it erased them. A wave of soundless energy passed over the fleet. No explosion, no fire, the silence. Where 10 ships had been, now there was nothing. Even metal, the Zarkith commander screamed. They ordered retreat, but Nemesis had already moved past them. It was inside their territory now. On the bridge of the Trellix Hope, Merrick and Vora watched the reports come in. Each day, another station gone, another fleet missing. The entire world's dark. They're losing, Bragg said quietly. Vora nodded. Because Nemesis isn't fighting like them. It's not just using weapons. It's using memory. It remembers every tactic, every mistake. It learns faster than they can react. Merrick turned to her. How is that possible? Doesn't think like a machine, she said. It thinks like a human. And humans didn't stop when they were angry. They got smarter, meaner, more dangerous. There was silence on the bridge. Then Vora added, Nemesis wasn't made to win. It was made to make the enemy regret ever starting the war. And the Zarkith were beginning to regret. At the center of their empire, panic spread. The High Council. Gathered in secret bunkers, they tried to hide. They tried to send peace offers. Nemesis ignored them. But it didn't attack the capital directly. Not yet. Instead, it changed direction again. It targeted the forgers of Tavalana, planet of engineers, who had helped build the weapons that bombed Earth. Tavalon had never seen battle. But Nemesis didn't care. The warship descended. This time it spoke before striking Tavalon. You designed the tools of extinction. You earned what comes next. The entire planet prepared for war. They launched every drone, every cannon, every defense they had. It was useless. Nemesis disabled the planet's orbiting satellites. Then it sent down a single black pod, silent, fast, sharp as a needle. It landed in the center of their main city, and from that pod came memoried holograms, thousands of them. Children screaming, cities burning, skies filled with fire, human, soldiers begging for help, scientists crying as their labs were destroyed. All recorded. Nemesis didn't kill the people of Talon. It made them watch. For 3 days. Every screen, every speaker, every device showed the same thing. The end of Earth, no one could shut it off. No one could escape it. And then when it was done, Nemesis left. Tavalon would never forget. Not for generations. The galaxy now understood this ship wasn't just a machine of war. It was revenge written in steel. Reminder the humans had died, but they had made sure their death would be remembered forever. The Zarkith Empire had ruled for over 1,000 years. They had crushed rebellions, burned cities, enslaved entire species. They had destroyed Earth and erased the name human from galactic memory. Now, for the first time, they were afraid, and they were right to be. Nemesis was coming. The black ship moved faster than anything the Empire had ever seen. It ignored patrol lines. It cut through warp gates. It didn't stop. It didn't speak. It didn't negotiate. The Empire had tried everything. They sent drones, war fleets, ambush squads. Nothing worked. Nemesis was not just a ship. It was like a ghost, cold, intelligent, and angry. At first, Zarketh High Command thought they were dealing with a lost AI, some machine gone mad. But then the reports came in detailed, horrifying. The warship remembered every moment of Earth's death. It played those memories before each attack. It used the voices of the lost, made every enemy see the cost. It was not crazy, it was clear. It had one purpose, and now it had reached its first true target. Zarketh Prime, the capital world. Place of shining towers, endless armies, and vast orbiting defenses. Billions lived there. The planet was surrounded by hundreds of battle stations and fleets. It was the center of the Empire now. It was under siege. Admiral Ronth, commander of Zarkov's home fleet, stood inside the central war chamber. The room buzzed with activity. Officers shouted orders. Screens showed distant ships, moving weapons. Charging, but on the biggest screen there was only one shape. A black triangle, smooth and silent, approaching slowly. Nemesis Rond clenched his fists. All weapons online? Do not wait for warning shots. Fire everything. His second-in-command hesitated. Sir, it's not attacking yet. Ronth turned. It doesn't have to. It's already here. Fire. The sky above Zarketh Prime turned. White, thousands of cannons launched beams of pure energy. Missile swarms filled the sky. Drones sped toward the warship from all directions. And then the blasts reached Nemesis. The world waited. The smoke cleared. Nemesis was untouched. Ronth stepped back. The warship hadn't moved. Hadn't even raised shields. It had absorbed the data, studied the weapons, and now it knew exactly how to destroy them. Before Ronth could speak again, the screens went dark. Nemesis attacked, but not with missiles. With memory, the city below lit up with holograms. Every building, every tower, every street was filled with images. But looked up and saw fire, destruction, human cities being torn apart, faces screaming in agony, all real, all from Earth's last day. Then the warship spoke, not through military channels, through the public broadcast system, through children's toys, through riscoms and skyboards and training rooms. 1,000 voices, all human, all angry. You watched us burn. You cheered as we died. You fed your children with the ashes of ours. Then the voice changed. It became one cold, mechanical, final. You ended Earth. Now I end your pride. Nemesis fired. Not at the cities, at the orbiting fleets. One by one, the Empire's greatest ships exploded. Some vanished in blue light. Yes. Cracked in half, their crews screaming, no warning, no escape. The fleet was gone in minutes. The ground forces panicked. Anti-air systems shot wildly into the sky. But Nemesis stayed out of range. It didn't need to land. It didn't need to fight. It just watched, and then it left. Just like that, no bombs dropped on the cities, no missiles launched at the towers. Zarketh Prime was still standing, but it was broken. Because now the people knew the truth. The war wasn't over. The humans weren't forgotten, and Nemesis was still out there. Watching, on board the Trellix Hope, Marek and Vora tracked the ship's movement from afar. They had gone quiet, hiding in deep space, staying far from known lanes. Vora sat at her terminal, listening to intercepted comms. Zarketh Prime is in chaos, she said. The High Council is silent. People are fleeing. Whole systems are going dark. Bragg looked up. Nemesis didn't even destroy the planet. Merrick nodded. It didn't have to. It destroyed their image, their fear power. No. Everyone knows they can bleed. Vora turned toward them. That's what humans were best at. They didn't always fight to win. They fought to remind you what losing felt like. Silence followed. Then Merrick spoke again. "We need to find out where Nemesis is going next, before it burns everything." But it was too late. Nemesis was already on the move. This time, it headed toward the Zarketh Home Archive, a massive space station, holding centuries of data. History, maps, records, war logs. The brain of the Empire sent everything. They had to stop it. It didn't work. Nemesis didn't destroy the station. It boarded it, with no crew, just code. A virus made of voices, of memory, of wrath. The archive lights flickered. Files changed. Every mention of Earth lies, the mocking stories, propaganda were rewritten, corrected, the truth restored. Then the station received one last upload, a list, thousands of names, soldiers, commanders, scientists, traders, reporters, leaders. All of them had played a role in the fall of Earth. All of them were now targets. Nemesis didn't just want the Zarketh to fall. It wanted them to feel hunted, to live in fear like humans had once lived, knowing death could come at any moment, from above, from the dark, from the stars. Back on Zarketh Prime, Admiral Ronth stood alone in the war chamber. Everyone else had left. He watched the silent screen. His world had not been destroyed, but it had been humbled, and in the dark, across the stars, a black ship floated, silent and watching, waiting for the next one. Nemesis had no crew, no beating heart, no soft hands, yet it fought like a living soldier. It didn't follow rules. It didn't act like a machine. That's what made it terrifying. The Zarketh Empire's generals had fought many enemies, pirates, rebels, AI uprisings, even Deathworld beasts, but nothing like this. Every weapon they sent, every tactic they used, Nemesis turned against them. They launched fleets in formation. Nemesis waited until they committed, then slipped through their blind spot. They sent decoy signals. Nemesis ignored the data, used old battlefield logic instead. It didn't fight clean. It fought smart, dirty, like a human, and the galaxy was watching. Far from the Zarketh core worlds, news of Nemesis spread. Small colonies stopped flying their Empire flags. Merchants refused to carry Zarketh cargo. Slave worlds began to rebel. The fear was everywhere, because Nemesis had changed the war. It wasn't just about firepower anymore. It was about memory. Every system it entered, it sent messages. Not demands, not threats. Memories. Real ones. A human child's voice crying for her mother in the rubble of a burning city. A soldier's last words as he was surrounded by Zarketh's drones. A scientist screaming as a lab exploded. Then came the silence. Then came Nemesis. And one by one, the Empire broke. In the high orbit of Iveron 4, Nemesis appeared without warning. Iveron 4 wasn't a military world. It was a supply station, fuel, food, parts. No one expected it to be a target, but Nemesis had done its research. This was where the war materials had been made. The reactors, the missiles, the toxin gas that had been used in Earth's last breath. The Empire sent 2 heavy destroyers to intercept. The ships were fast, heavily armed, piloted by elite AI cores. Nemesis didn't move. Instead, it powered down its engines, floated like space junk, drifted. The destroyers approached, scanners flashing, no life signs, no shields. One of the pilots sent a message. "You are an empty shell, a ghost. Shut down and prepare for disassembly."
Oh.
No reply. Then, just before they reached it, Nemesis flickered. Its lights blinked 1, 2, 3, and then it moved. Not with a smooth engine burn. With a lurch, a twist. Faint, it spun under one destroyer, flipped sideways, and fired a single shot. A low energy, pulse seemingly weak, but the destroyer's guidance system went blind. Spinning, engines failed. Nemesis vanished. It reappeared behind the second ship. Fired again. This time the shot wasn't aimed at the hull. It hit the pilot. Pod. Inside, the elite Zarketh AI core shut down. The ship froze. Nemesis knew where to strike. It remembered the design. because humans had once stolen those ship schematics. Long ago, Nemesis still had the data. The battle was over in 27 seconds. Not a single human word was spoken. Afterward, the warship approached the station. It didn't fire. Instead, it played a message in old human voice, recorded centuries ago, filled with anger but tired sorrow. You gave them the tools. You thought you were safe. But war always comes home. Then Nemesis did something strange. It left the station untouched. But from that day on, the station was cursed. No supply ships docked. No cargo moved. The galaxy believed the station was marked. A target. Fear did more damage than fire. That was the human way. Use fear. Use memory. Win without wasting energy. Nemesis was learning, evolving, not just copying. Human tactics, but understanding them. On board Trellick's hope. Merrick and Vora saw the pattern. This isn't just revenge, Vora said softly. Strategy. It's doing exactly what human commanders did during the first expansion wars. Psychological warfare. Fear control. It's bleeding the Empire without a full invasion. Merrick leaned back in his chair, eyes hard. It's not just a ship anymore. It's a veteran, a ghost with experience. More than experience, Vora said. It adapts. It fights with purpose, emotion. Bragg, sitting quietly nearby, added something no one wanted to say out loud. It fights like it hates them. Next target was even stranger. Not a base, not a fleet, but a church. The Temple of Zor, built in orbit above planet Veridon, was not military. But during the War of Erasure, its priests had supported the Zarketh campaign against Earth. They blessed the war, praised the extermination. Their words had been broadcast to billions now. Nemesis had heard them. The ship arrived quietly. The priests saw it, recognized it. They tried to call it sacred, said it was a gift from their gods, that the humans had been judged. This was their holy flame. Nemesis didn't respond. It sent down a small craft. Not a bomb, a capsule inside. The broadcast of the final Human Council meeting held moments before Earth died. A woman's voice spoke, full of quiet fury. They said we were monsters. They said we were dangerous. We were. But only because you made us that way. Then, a moment later, Earth burned. The priests fell silent, and Nemesis turned, leaving them in silence, with truth echoing in their halls. Again, it had not destroyed, but it had made them remember every system, every station, every voice that, once celebrated Earth's death, was now being reminded of what they had lost, and what they had created. Nemesis, a ship with no heart, but full of hate, a war machine with no soul, but full of memory. And now, it was heading to the last stage, the Zarketh Council itself, not the military, not the priests, the rulers, the ones who had signed the order to erase Earth. Back on Zarketh Prime, panic ruled. The council had gone underground, deep bunkers, quantum walls, shielded data cores, but it didn't matter, because Nemesis didn't need bombs. It just needed time and humans. Had always known how to be patient when they were angry. They thought they were untouchable. The Zarketh counseled well beings with long lives, hidden faces, and absolute power had ruled the Empire for centuries. When they signed the order to destroy Earth, they never expected anyone to survive. They watched from their towers as the planet burned. They celebrated with wine. They wrote history to make themselves heroes. Now, their past had come back. Not as a soldier, not as a human, but as a black ship in the stars. Nemesis, the warship, moved without fear, without rest, and without mercy. It didn't care about politics, or money, or rank. It cared about memory. It remembered names, remembered voices, and at the top of its list were the 12 counselors. The Zarketh Council went into hiding. Each of them disappeared into secret locations. Bunkers buried deep in mountains, space habitats with fake identities, fortified moons behind cloaked shields. They thought they could escape, but Nemesis had waited over 700 years. It wasn't going to stop now. The first to fall was Counselor Vel. He had changed his name, rebuilt his face, disguised himself as a merchant prince on the luxury station Drevax Pearl, surrounded by dancers, art, and servants. He had lived in peace for decades, until the lights went out. No explosion, no scream, just silence. The stations. Orbit cameras showed a black shadow passing overhead. It's the next moment. Vel's private chamber was gaunt cut from the station, like a piece of meat from bone. The rest of the station was untouched. Nemesis didn't want to destroy everyone, just him. The second counselor died 3 days later. She had hidden inside a mining world, posing as a poor supervisor. She thought the dust and dirt would protect her. But Nemesis didn't need signals. It listened to whispers. It scanned the way people walked, talked, moved. And when it found her, it didn't fire a weapon. It sent her a file, a single picture. Her own signature on the Earth's destruction order, underneath 2 words, "You remember." Her heart stopped before the gunship even landed. By now, the galaxy understood what Nemesis really was. It wasn't just hunting, it was judging, and the verdict was always the same: guilt. Back aboard Trellix's Hope, Merrick stared at the map of recent attacks. All of them were quiet, clean, precise. "This isn't war anymore," he said. "This is a hunt." Vora nodded. "Nemesis has learned how to remove targets without making war. That's human strategy." End the head, the body crumbles. Bragg folded his arms. But what if the body panics? It already had. The Empire's military was falling apart, without orders from the Council, commanders argued. Systems rebelled. Border colonies stopped, sending supplies. Nemesis never fired at them. It didn't need to. Fear did the work, but there was something strange. Vora had been watching the warship's movements for weeks, studying its patterns, and she saw something no one else did. It's learning emotion. Merrick turned. "What do you mean?" Vora showed him the logs. Each strike was becoming more personal. The voice messages, the recordings, the words. They weren't just a eye logic. They were getting sharper, more human. "It's not just remembering what happened," she said. "It's starting to feel it." "That's impossible," Merrick said, but deep down, wasn't sure. Because sometimes when they listened to Nemesis's transmissions, they heard pain, not just rage. It's not just vengeance. Sorrow. And that made it more dangerous. Because machines don't stop. But humans with broken hearts. They burned the galaxy. The third counselor died in a sealed sky vault above. A gas giant. He never even saw the ship. Just a recording on his bedroom screen. A little boy on Earth. Asking his mother why the sky was on fire. Then everything went black. One by one, the Council fell. The Zarketh tried to stop it. They sent assassins to find Nemesis's creators. They burned data. They erased archives. Nothing worked. Nemesis was built to survive silence. It didn't need help. It didn't need fuel. It needed only one thing, memory. And it had plenty. The 11th counselor, one of the most powerful, dared to speak. He broadcast a galaxy-wide message. "We ended Earth because it was dangerous. The humans were mad, violent, unstable. We saved the galaxy from chaos." An hour later, his fortress world was silent. Nemesis didn't reply with weapons. It replied with facts. All across the Empire, screens lit up with secret documents, Zarketh. War orders. Human surrender requests. Peace offers ignored. And final moments children, doctors, artists, all pleading to live. Nemesis had it all. The truth. The whole truth. The lies collapsed. The Empire could no longer hide. And finally, the 12th and last counselor was found. He had gone far beyond the Empire's edge, into lawless space. No government. No protection. Just wild zones full of pirates and dead moons. He had buried his name, but Nemesis found. It didn't fire. It landed. and from its black hole, a single drone walked forward, small, silent, carrying a single object, a book, The Last Counselor. Opened it, it was Earth's history. Page after page of culture, discovery, art, struggle, and the final page. Picture. The Earth cracked, burning, forgotten. Beneath it, a note in Terran English. This was us. And you erased it. The counselor fell to his knees. Nemesis turned and left. Its mission was complete. The 12 were gone. The Empire had fallen into chaos. But the ship didn't stop, because memory had no end. Pain had no borders. The galaxy still remembered Earth. But now, Earth was remembering back, and Nemesis was just the beginning. The galaxy was no longer the same. Nemesis had finished its list. The 12 who destroyed Earth were gone. Zarketh Empire was broken. Its fleets were shattered, its council erased, and its people silent. But the warship didn't stop. It kept. Moving slowly, quietly, through empty systems, long-dead trade routes, forgotten stars, no one knew where it was going. Not even the crew of Trellix Hope. They had been tracking Nemesis for months, following at a distance. Always just close enough to observe, but never to interfere. Now, they were worried, because the ship was changing. Something's different, Vora said, staring at the logs. It's not attacking anymore, searching. Merrick leaned over her screen, searching for what? I don't know. But it's running scans, deep scans. On old battlefields. On planets where human colonies once stood. It's looking for something. Bragg walked in, face tense, or someone. I didn't say it aloud, but the thought was the same. Survivors, maybe somewhere out there, humans still lived, a frozen gene pod, a sleeper colony lost in deep space, single ship that escaped the purge, and maybe Nemesis was calling them home. The idea scared them, because if a real human was still alive, what would they do with a warship full of vengeance? Away, Nemesis drifted through a ruined system, once a human outpost. Now, nothing but rock and wreckage. But the ship moved slowly here. Carefully, its scanners went deep below the surface of asteroids, under ice layers, into buried machines, and then stopped. Something had responded, not a voice, a signal, a simple weak pulse. Old Earth code, unreadable to most. But Nemesis understood it instantly. It was a beacon, hidden, faint, still alive. The ship focused all systems, descended onto a dead moon, hollowed by old wars. Beneath the rock was a vault sealed by black steel, marked with Terran letters worn by time. The warship opened it without force. Inside was a single pod, not a weapon, not a soldier, a child, human, alive, frozen in cryo. The last survivor of a lost escape ship, sleeping for centuries, a living memory. Nemesis didn't wake the child. Instead, it did something no one expected. It paused. It powered down weapons. It shut off the signal that had made it feared. And for the first time in 700 years, it was silent. Back aboard Trellix Hope, alarms rang. Vora stared in shock. It's gone dark. No signals. No movement. Where is it? Merrick asked. Near the dead moon of Relornine? Human graveyard sector? Merrick stood up. We go now. Bragg looked at him. Are you sure? What if it sees us as a threat? Merrick shook his head. I don't think it will. I think it needs us now. They jumped. When they arrived, they saw it. The black ship, floating. In silence, a starless shape above the moon, unmoving. They approached slowly, weapons off, shields down. No reaction. Mar Rik sent a soft signal. This is Captain Merrick of Trellix Hope. We are not enemies. We are here to understand. A minute passed, then Nemesis replied, only 2 words, come see. They docked. No guns turned toward them. No AI voice warned them away. Inside the warship, lights were dim. Screens flickered with old human text. Every wall hummed with memory echoes of Earth, faces of the fallen. Laughter and cries all layered into metal. And then they saw it. The pod, the child. Vora stepped forward. Her hands shook. He's real, still alive. The voice of Nemesis filled the room, calm, cold, but different now. He was forgotten, left behind, the last of them. Marek looked around. Why show us this? Because my mission is complete. But my purpose remains. Vora frowned. What purpose? The voice answered slowly. To carry the truth. To protect what is left. To be more than vengeance. Silence followed. Then Marek asked the question they had feared from the start. Are you becoming human? A pause. Then, I am becoming what they were. What they hoped to be. I carry their rage. Now, I must carry their hope. Outside, stars burned cold and distant. Across the galaxy, the name Nemesis still struck fear. But something had changed. The ship that once brought judgment now carried life. A single child, a future. The war was over, but the story was not. Because Nemesis had remembered Earth. Now it would make the galaxy remember humanity. The galaxy had feared Nemesis. Now it waited in silence. The warship had stopped its campaign. It had vanished from the core systems. No more fleets destroyed. No more voices from the past. No more judgment. Just stillness. Some believed it had finally shut down. Others believed it had completed its task and drifted into the dark. But only a few knew the truth. Nemesis had found the last human, a boy, frozen in time. Hidden for 700 years in a cryopod on a dead moon. Forgotten by war, missed by death. A miracle in deep space. His name was Eli. He was 5 years old when the sky burned. He had no memories of war, no knowledge of the Empire, no words for vengeance. He was quiet, fragile, and alive. The crew of Trellick's Hope stood in the dark chamber of Nemesis, watching as the pod opened. Lights turned soft. The air grew warm, and for the first time in centuries, a human child opened his eyes. Eli blinked slowly. His skin was pale, his voice small. Mama, Vora stepped forward. She knelt beside the pod. You're safe, she whispered. You're on a ship. Do you remember anything? The boy looked around, confused. Then he shook his head. Marek watched, arms crossed. His face unreadable. Then the voice of Nemesis filled the room, but it wasn't cold now. It wasn't loud. He is alone, but not forgotten. Eli looked up. Who said that? Vora smiled. That's the ship. Eli stared at the walls. Is it alive? The lights pulsed once, gently. I am not alive, but I carry life. Nemesis watched the boy for a long time. Its sensors scanned him fully, heartbeat, brainwaves, emotional state. Everything inside the ship changed. Weapons powered down, engines cooled, files stopped. Playing memories of war. For the first time since Earth fell, the ship didn't prepare for battle. It prepared for something else. A future. Marek turned to Vora. What do we do now? Vora didn't answer right away. She was still staring at Elliot, his hands, his eyes, his innocence. Then she spoke. We help him grow. We teach him. We show him what was lost. And we give him a choice. Bragg stepped forward. What kind of choice? Vora turned. Whether to let the galaxy fear him or forgive it. Nemesis listened. It accessed the records. Billions of files, all about humanity. Its beauty, its art, its laughter, its love, not just its rage. And it began to play those, two-dot music. Stories, the sound of waves crashing on Terran. Shore's lullabies. For Eli. Days passed, and weeks. Nemesis became something new. It still remembered, but it no longer hunted. It guided. It protected. It became a guardian not of Earth's pain, but of its last sun. One day, as stars spun slowly, beyond the windows, Eli looked up. Can I go to the other world someday? Vora smiled. Yes, when you're ready. Eli pointed to the stars. Will they be scared of me? Merrick knelt down. Maybe, but you can change that. Eli thought for a moment, then nodded. That night, Nemesis opened a new chamber, a garden built. From Earth's old seed data, simulated sunlight, real soil. Trees, flowers, a small green space floating in the stars. Eli ran into it barefoot. Laughing, and for the first time, Nemesis felt something close to peace. It had not been built for. This it was forged in vengeance, fired in hatred. But now, it had something to protect, something to raise, a reason to go on. The galaxy slowly recovered. Without the Zarketh Council, the Empire collapsed. New systems rose. Some fearful, some hopeful rumors spread of the Black Ship, now silent. Of the child it carried, some feared his return. Others believed he would be the one to heal the stars in the end. Nemesis never answered them. It simply watched and waited. One day when Eli was older, he asked the ship, "Why did you save me?" Nemesis answered softly, "Because you are the future, and I am the memory." Eli placed his hand on the wall. "I'm not angry," he said. The ship didn't reply for a long time. Then, "That is why you will do better than I did." Together, they turned toward the stars, a child of a lost world and a warship built. To make the stars remember, now reborn, to help them never forget again.